If you're learning how to code, if you want to become a software engineer, embrace AI. Don't look at it as something that's negative and that's going to stop you from getting a job in tech. I know the masters are saying the journey can be rough. It can feel lonely sometimes. So it's important to have.
Family, in this video, we are going to dive deep into Malik Felix's journey to becoming a software engineer. We're going to talk about things from AI and its impact on preparing for the career now, as well as Malik's background and some challenges that he went through on becoming a software engineer, as well as what that experience is like now that he is in the role. As always, free resources as well as paid opportunities on theworthens.com for learning code as well as many other things career-wise. Let's dig in. Why would you want to become a software engineer out of anything you can be in the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. At first, I don't think I really had a great reason. I just wanted to have a job where I could put my head down and people would leave me alone. When that was the why, I actually couldn't go through with it. I gave up a lot. So there was a time when my why changed to my wife and daughter. So right before COVID, my wife was working from home with our then 3-year-old daughter, and I would commute into the city. And anytime I'd come home, you'd be able to see the pain in her face, and she'd be distraught. And one day she comes to me and says, "Hey, Malik, I need you to quit your job. This is too much. I can't do this. I know it doesn't make sense, but something has to change." And yeah, of course, it didn't make sense financially to just quit my job and put us in more trouble. But it did show me that I needed to be around and available a bit more for my family. We were living in across state lines from our family back in New York. We were in Connecticut at the time, and we didn't really have much help. And so at that point, I said, I'm going to really do the software engineering thing because it can give me the flexibility that I need. I can still have a lucrative career out of it, and it will fulfill the needs of my family by allowing me to be more present for my wife and kid. So I started doing that. And as I was doing it, I started to notice how much bias was built into the systems and the negative impact that it was starting to have on Black people that look like you and I. And so I decided that my why is going to go a bit deeper. And it's because I want to be part of the teams that build these systems and be able to have input in how we can build them so that there's less bias and therefore less negative effects against Black people and people of color as a whole. Tech needed to diversify. And at the time, and still is sort of, it wasn't very diverse. And that meant that we didn't benefit. And now, even today, as I continue to grow, that's still like my guiding star, my North Star, in why I became a software engineer and why I continue to be one.
All right. So I heard definitely for practical reasons for the family. And then if I heard you correctly, it sounded like you're saying like part of what influences it now is that you're really interested in paving a way for people who look like us to have, more opportunity to go into the space.
Yes, exactly.
Dude. All right. So I wasn't planning on talking much, and I'm not going to talk much still, but it's interesting to me because for so much of like my life, how people say like, I don't see color kind of thing. It kind of like I saw color. I mean, I did see color, but I didn't see color. And maybe because I wasn't like trying to enter into any prominent roles or careers or whatever, but I saw it on the tech sales side and I had seen it prior to that, but say that for another conversation. But as I was kind of like working in this space and I started looking around and I started, I guess getting certain vibes and I was like, wow, this is like really interesting. I can actually see why it's not that simple. You know what I'm saying? For Black people to either get in or if they are in to even, really fully understand like how to socially and professionally navigate like the landscape.
That part.
So you seeing that on the software engineering side is eye-opening for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's everywhere. And a lot of it is simply that we're not around to influence the ideas to, the majority. And then there's a part of it where there's some of the majority that think that our ideas don't make sense, doesn't make financial sense, social sense, economic sense. But from our perspective, we don't necessarily see, we don't have, because we don't have representation in this space, or as much representation in this space, we're not inclined to say, hey, I'm going to go and become a software engineer, or I'm going to work in tech sales, or I'm going to work in marketing, because we don't have those examples for us. And what's drilled into us is, especially like me, I first generation American. So any immigrant can tell you, any person that's grown up in an immigrant family can tell you, you're gonna become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or one of the main things, these big black and white careers that may not necessarily vibe with you. But because they see it, they typically see that as a lucrative career, something sustainable, safe, even, where there's a better guarantee on the investment put toward that. For those that don't get that, it's what you see in the social space. What are your role models? Is it a basketball player? Is it a TV star, a rapper, a singer? So we tend to lean toward those. But what if we had more influential people that were in the spaces like technology and were building the things that we use on a day-to-day basis? Would we then feel more inclined to do more research and lean into these spaces? So that's kind of why I think that it's imperative that those of us that do get here and find a way here, we go well and share that back with our communities, and we continue to exist in the spaces until we can bring them along with us.
All right. So I'm going to pivot real quick because I know I had like the question flow out, but I got a question. Now that you're in this space, because you came from what would be considered information technology support prior, right?
Yeah.
What is like the beauty and difference, like now that you've made it, so to speak, into like the role that you were looking to get into? What's the perks, the benefits?
That's a good question. When I think about IT support versus software engineering, at the core, it's the same thing. You're solving a problem. There's a problem there. You have to fix it, find a way to fix it. With support, you're dealing with, it's a lot more reactivity, like, hey, this thing broke, almost like a first responder, so to speak. That means you get to see a variety of people, a variety of issues, a variety of different technologies. But at a very surface level, you get to work with them and find solutions and build relationships with the people that you're helping. On the software engineering side, you're going deep into a specific problem. All right, our customer has this problem. We need to find a way to solve it. We work with the product teams and they'll say, hey, can we build this? What would it take? And it's a lot more internal collaboration than it is what would be considered external when you think about the two of them together. And that it affords you the ability to kind of, I'd say, be a bit more autonomous in your work. Yes, you're still collaborating with many different teams, but you can really figure out how you want to spend your time on that work, how you want to solve the problem. You can get a little more creative with it. And I think that to me is really in line with a lot of the things that I value. And the expectations are a little different as well. Yes, I think it's a bit harder to get into than, an IT support role. But once you get past that part, there are so many different avenues for growth there.
Okay. No, I like that. Were you working remote during IT as well?
Only after COVID.
Only after COVID. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. All right. So let me ask you this then, because someone like me, naturally, I would say I view software engineering as like reserved for, really smart people. And I started learning coding a little bit, like HTML, basic coding, some months back, just because I don't know, I just wanted to know what it looked like. So I just kind of like started doing this online coding thing. But like, what would you say are like the challenges around becoming a software engineer? Maybe depending on, maybe you can answer that from more than one perspective of if you're coming out of high school, if you're somebody watching this and they're like almost 40 and they want to try to do something like that. Like, what would you say some hurdles that they would need to overcome based on your experience?
The first thing I'll say is that it doesn't matter how old you are, it is never too late to learn. It's never too early. Second thing I'll say is that depending on your definition of smart, you're already smart enough to do the job.
Wow.
So for me, I didn't even know what coding was until I started working in the tech space. I I did a job training program, and in that program, I was studying software quality assurance. And we had an instructor that said, hey, if you're going to test these things, you should probably know what code looks like. So, similar to you, we dived into like HTML, CSS, and some really basic JavaScript. And we had to build a website about ourselves. And then I believe we tested each other's website. If not, we tested our own so long ago. And building that opened my eyes to what was possible. It can be a difficult job, and sometimes it is. There are days to this day where I feel really dumb doing my job, and then other days I feel like I've conquered the world. I feel the former more often, but if you don't believe that you can do it, you just won't. Simple as that. You really have to push yourself and have the patience with yourself to stick with it and learn the craft, and get around other people too that are doing it, and ask them questions along your journey. I've worked with this, for example, like I've worked with this tool here and I wanted to do this. I wanted to do X. Hey, Jim, can you tell me how you would use it? That approach has helped me so much. I've had so many people in the industry where we've just had talks about the technologies, and they talk about what they do, how they use it, and why. And it helps me think about my own implementation of these things. And then in doing that, you're realizing like, oh, like anything else, if we just talk about it, we can figure it out. It doesn't take this super smart, nerdy person who's locked up in their room reminiscent of a closet all day, just hacking away at a computer. It's really not that at all. Anybody can do this. I have plans to have my daughter start building some things for her own benefit, just so she knows that she can do it if she wants to.
Wow. Okay. You're making me feel even better about my craft. I like how you said, yeah, some days when I'm at work, I'm like, dang, I seem really far away from being where I need to be. And then another day I'm like, oh, snap, like this is like incredible. I'm like, thank you, God, for letting me be in this position. And I'm working remote, and I got great opportunity, right?
Yes.
No, that's good. So how about your background a little bit, Malik? Maybe dive into the Malik prior to being a software engineer. Like if you want to even go as far back as a touch of childhood and leading into like what your adulthood looked like.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so let's go back all the way back, way back. So I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I moved around a little bit, but spent most of my years in Brooklyn. And while living in Brooklyn, I lived in the Brownsville, East New York neighborhood, an area. Well, I lived in Brownsville, went to high school in East New York. And anyone from Brooklyn will tell you that there's a very impoverished neighborhood. Hopefully by now they're starting to change things, but we'll see. And during that time, my goal, I remember saying to myself, when I'm finished high school, I just want a regular job where people, like kind of similar to what I said earlier, where people just leave me alone and I can provide for myself and my family, should I have one. And by the time college applications came around, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I remember doing the Common App, which is a college application for, I believe, for CUNY, where you can add like 10 schools in the City University of New York school system, college system, university system, and figure out the ones you want to go to. The one I got accepted to was John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and I thought that I was going to be a detective. I did my first year of college and said, nah, this is not for me. So I dropped out of college at that point because I didn't like the idea of spending money doing something that I don't learning about something that I knew I did not want to do, and I was nowhere near the place where I could figure out what it was that I was going to do and continue going through school there. So at that point, I remember a program that my mother had told me about called Year Up, and that's where my tech journey started. So I went there. There were like the crux of the program is to serve the underserved communities in around the nation. They're usually in like big cities, and I fit that criteria, being where I was from. And they would train you at the time within 4 different tracks, at least that New York had, which were IT support, financial operations, project management, and quality assurance. I didn't know what any of them things were except IT support, and barely even knew what that was at the time. Again, I liked computers, but I just liked being on them. Didn't know the inner workings of them, how to build anything with it. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just do the IT support thing. And you get to choose a few things. So I chose IT support, and I think maybe quality assurance is my second pick. Didn't get the first pick, but ended up in quality assurance. But I'm thankful for that to this day, because that is what introduced me to the software development world, so to speak. After the training program, everyone gets a 6-month internship. And I was selected to go work at Citigroup. So that is the parent company of Citibank. And so what I did there is like, I was supposed to work in quality assurance in there, but they didn't really have a need for that in the group on the team that I was working on. I didn't realize it at the time, but what it ended up being was that I was supposed to help develop some internal applications, so to speak, for some of the traders or some of the internal employees that worked in the company. I was very immature, very stubborn at the time. I'm like, no, this isn't software engineering. I was supposed to learn how to code in like C# and learn SQL and all that. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Hated the experience. And at that point, I was turned off from anything web development related. I said, you're not going to find me coding. I'm not programming. Don't ask me to do this ever again. So when that internship was done, I worked in the bank as a teller for a time, just to continue to make some sort of money while I figured out my next step. And at that point, I was like, I leaned back into IT support. So I did another program called Empower, and went in and learned all about IT support there. And from there, my IT support career kicked off. Well, the beauty of this is that it afforded me the opportunity to walk into a lot of different spaces, talk to a lot of different people on different teams, and understand what it was that they did, what they liked about their jobs, and it helped me understand a lot of the problems that they ran into, what was important, why were they doing the work that they did. And I was able to do that at a ton of different companies. And what started to happen was that the work itself became very mundane for me. I wasn't able to really put my best foot forward. And what I'd always do during my downtime was code. I would build small websites. I'd try to help other people that needed a website and just put something up for them. Really basic stuff. A bunch of static websites. And it was like a hobby for me almost. And I remember a point in time, me trying to finish a lot of my work, almost rushing through it, just so that during my downtime, I can continue coding. And that's what got me through the days at work. I'd always have like my personal laptop at work with me and just be hacking away at it. And the beauty of IT is that you have a ton of laptops, so no one thinks much of it. And I'm learning something tech related. So I was even able to use some of the things I was learning in some of the solutions that I provide for my IT users. So eventually this got to the point where it's like, let me do this. And I would start to dive in and learn what it was to be a software engineer. And it became hard at some point. It was a lot. And I did give up a whole bunch of times. And so I ended up continuing working in IT support jumping from job to job, thinking that things would be better in a different place, but the job was always the same. So until I realized that until I got to a point where I was ready to truly leave the IT support space and put my foot forward, then I won't be able to make any changes. And I would be quote unquote stuck in IT support, like a lot of the other coworkers I've had that felt like they couldn't go anywhere.
So background wise, do you do you have like any degrees, certifications in coding or software engineering?
Yeah, technically. So I did do a boot camp. I don't know if it's still a thing anymore. It was called WazU. That was founded by the co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak.
Okay.
And they partnered with Southern Careers Institute. I did that and got a certificate in software engineering for that after completing that. But what I found doing that is that a lot of it was review for me because I've done so much learning on my own. So
I see.
I did a bunch of the free online coding courses, free code camp. I've done some Udemy courses. It wasn't until after I completed that boot camp that I went back to school for computer science, and I just finished that degree last month. So I was already in the role by the time I finished it. So no, I wouldn't say that my certificate or degree is what got me the job as a software engineer. Definitely helps now as a software engineer, but I'm certain that I could have done this without the certificate since I didn't really advertise it. I often forget that I have it.
So that's interesting. So basically, like predominantly self-taught coding.
Predominantly self-taught. Yeah, maybe I like community taught better.
Yeah.
I had I had a lot of people and mentors in my corner that helped me along the way, and so definitely a very unconventional, non-traditional path to software engineering. But I'd say I'm more community taught than self-taught.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's good. I think that that's good for people to hear and for people to know, because, man, it's one of them things where it's like, I never got my accredited degree. I have an unaccredited degree, and I paid for a boot camp type of thing when I was going into tech sales. And I believe it was helpful. And truth matter is, like, it's actually other things I do want to pay for, like educational wise. Like, I'm just interested in different thought leaders and things that I would actually pay for, like, their course or to go to a seminar. But financially, like, when I'm not in a position to like do that, like, what do? I go on YouTube, I buy books, right? I old school, I read and just figure it out how to the best that I can, And I think that what you're saying sheds light on, we don't have to make excuses in a sense, or be afraid to critically figure out how to add value to ourselves to get to the next level, right? Like, everything is in front of us. I mean, and now we have like AI and all of these things. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I don't know. That's just a sidebar. Like, what do you on someone learning to code with different AI software?
Oh yeah, I was going to stop you there because I think that's an important call out, because even 3-4 years ago looked very different today when learning how to code. We have tools like we have generative AI and tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Windsurf, Cursor. All those things that help and assist in coding. And people use it, like so many of us are using it at work now, and it's starting to become the norm. I think I don't know if you've seen it, but Cursor has its growth has been incredible. They've grown faster than I think almost any other company recently, simply because people are paying for subscriptions to use it.
It's actually my first time hearing about them. You mentioned them.
Yeah, so
I gotta look them up.
If I'm wrong, cut it out. But I'm pretty sure I saw something like that. And because of that, we have companies saying like, we don't need to hire junior employees. We can have senior staff and use AI because AI can quote unquote do the work of a junior, right? And I believe that's short-sighted, but that's something else we'll get into. If you're learning how to code and you're using AI, you have to understand the code being written there. Even at my level, I'm still fairly new to being a software engineer on paper. Anything that ChatGPT or Copilot generates, I always have to look at it with a grain of salt. I'm like a code reviewer on my own on AI, and you start to recognize like the code smells, and this isn't right, because AI will hallucinate sometimes. It may not have enough context to give you the best solution. And if you're new and you're writing code with AI and you see something you haven't seen before, you have to ask it why, and really like play devil's advocate with AI. I've done that plenty of times, and I've learned so much from doing that. Why? Because in my experience working with more senior engineers as a junior engineer, I always ask them, why are we doing it this way? What is that? I've never seen it before. So why would I not ask the AI if it's giving me a solution? We can't blindly give solutions. Lastly, with AI being in the mix, I feel like I can code this technically and make this thing work with code is going to go away. I think system design is going to become way more important at earlier levels. Today, system design it's important all around, but if you were a junior, people didn't really give you too much of an issue with it. But as a senior, that's the way you should be thinking about code. How can I build a system? What is the best way? How will I architect this? And now I feel like it's going to become much more important at an earlier level, because AI is affording us the opportunity to not think about a lot of the mundane things. So like really, really mundane templatized coding, like writing tests or building some sort of proof of concept, or a first iteration of something. AI can do that, and it can do that fairly well, but what AI generates should never be what you ship, in my opinion, not at this stage. So you can get it to do that, and then you can apply those system design skills you may have, and say, hey, okay, if this is how it works, maybe I should add authentication here. We should think about setting up this API to do this thing. We should think about how this, gets data to and from the database. Now I feel like we can think about those things earlier on, therefore build better applications.
Man, yeah, you brought up something. Yeah, I didn't think about that because, right. Like even on the sales development side of tech, right, I'm constantly checking ChatGPT. And it's great. It automates a lot. It gives me framework, but I'm the expert.
Exactly.
Not the AI. So the AI works for me, So yeah, you bring up a very solid point, because I was going to ask you if you felt comfortable maybe just kind of like touching on your opinion or open thoughts on how a person should think about their entry point into being a software engineer with the rise of generative and agentic AI now coming up the pipe.
Yeah, still learn the basics, learn how the data structures and algorithms will still be important. But like I said earlier, focus on system design. What is your plan? What's the best way to build this? And there are ways you can use AI to support your learning, right? Say you can tell it to code review some of the things you write. You can ask it to give you things to practice a coding interview with, right? Use it to your benefit, not your detriment. Let it help grow you, because AI is going to do whatever you tell it to do. And I think I will say that the bar has been raised a bit higher. It's not like 2022 where you breathed and a job came to you. If you said, I've developed, a recruiter was in your inbox. Those days are over.
Gosh.
And it's very unfortunate, but it's not impossible to get in. And I think there's a lot more opportunity than there was before. We just have to be willing to pivot in that direction. So if you're learning how to code, If you want to become a software engineer, embrace AI. Don't look at it as something that's negative and that's going to stop you from getting a job in tech. I know the masses are saying, "Oh, we're not going to need we're not going to need coders anymore because AI can do it." And there are some companies slashing their engineering departments because they want AI to do it. Most of those places doing that have incentive in their own AI products to do so. But people are still going to need to build those systems. People are still going to need to maintain the systems that they've implemented AI into. And so they're still going to need you. And the market always, the pendulum always swings back, right? Right now, it's like, oh, we only need senior engineers. I feel like that whole definition is going to change in a couple of years, and we just have to be ready for it. So continue learning how to do the craft the way that we've always done it. Incorporate AI into your strategy, and go from there.
No, that's good. So a person still should definitely learn the basics, so to speak. Like it's not like a level that you can skip. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Like you can't go from level 2 and say, "Oh, I'm just going to start learning at level 9 and go ahead and grab this job."
Mm-hmm.
No,
Absolutely.
That's good. Is it anything that was on your heart to touch on, like concerning speaking to a certain audience with a family and just kind of like sharing some of the, maybe like getting more into the practicality of like how you and your wife have maneuvered and made certain decisions like for you to get into this role, and then what life looks like for you now?
Yeah. The journey can be rough. It can feel lonely sometimes. So it's important to have your spouse, your partner on board. Let them know what you're trying to do. Give them your why, and hopefully they support it. If they do support it, things will be a bit easier for you. You'll have a little less guilt because there's a lot of studying, there's a lot of building, it's a lot of work. And this is like switching into this career has been, what I realized is that there's so much work up front, but after it pays dividends. But at the same time, I'd also say, like, spend time with your family. Don't burn yourself out. Don't try to rush the grind. Very few people can do that. If you can do that, you are the exception to the rule. You definitely have to take your time, enjoy sun, touch grass. The coding's not going nowhere. The career is not going anywhere, despite what people are trying to say today. In my experience, I had to tell my wife, like, hey, I really want to do this. I think this benefits the family, but it's going to probably take away a good portion of time that we all benefit from while I do this. I remember taking a course free. It's called 100 Devs. But shout out to Leon Noel. Credible does credible work. It's like a free coding boot camp that he does online. He's an actual instructor. He's a director at Resilient Coders out in Philly. It's similar to that year program that I did, but focused on software engineering, I believe. And he was able to get a community of people together, and he taught them on Twitch twice a week. And it was just the community really connected. And I remember I was like, I want to do this, not because I truly need it, but I really want the community. So in your learning, make sure you have that community that can support you, especially when things get a little troublesome at home because of the time that it can take while learning this stuff with the family. There was someone I mentored, and he's now working at a seed-level startup, and his journey was a bit rough because he had a wife who needed his support, and he was a new dad. And balancing all of that with other responsibilities was incredibly hard for him. And I remember just talking to him and just really emphasizing the fact that if this is what you want for you, if you believe that this can benefit your family, make sure that they understand what it is you're doing and what's required. Oftentimes we don't do that. It's like, hey, I'm gonna just do this thing, learn this thing on the side, and then you realize that you've been glued to your computer for hours, and your partner has been vying for your attention. And if you don't realize that can cause other problems. It can disrupt your learning and make the journey a lot longer, a lot harder. And it doesn't have to be that way. So communication, the cliche of communication that I say is very important. You must communicate where you are, how things are looking, and when things get a bit rough for you, take the breaks. Really take the breaks before it gets rough. It'll make your journey. Something I've learned in my career is that fast is slow and slow is fast. If you try to rush through most things, you're gonna mess something up, or you have to go back and now take twice as long. But if you take your time, you're able to absorb the information you need, learn it, and do things the right way. You're more likely to do things the right way the first time. And so, like, I live by that mantra. It's like, just slow down. And as someone that's coming from New York, it's like, how can you say that? But you truly have to just slow down sometimes so that you can achieve the goals that you set for yourself.
Man, now you got me thinking about my life, man. Because I'm like, when you got me when you said, yeah, you might think you can try to just learn it on the side, but then you like, oh snap! But then you didn't spend hours and hours that's accumulated throughout the week. But you did turn your attention away from something.
Mm-hmm.
And I am naturally someone, I just pick up stuff and then will just get absorbed in it. And dude, that is so good, man. Especially for someone navigating responsibility with a family, with children, understanding that learning software engineering is certainly doable. It's certainly possible. It's not rocket science. And even if it was rocket science, then you just got to buckle down and learn that. But counting the cost of what's required of you, like it's going to take work. No, that's solid, man. Is it anything else, like, before we close, that you feel like you didn't get to say to the viewer, and you're like, man, you know what, if someone like this in this situation, if somehow they stumble across this, I got to make sure that they hear these words based on my experience. Just anything that jump out at you.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that you don't have to do it alone. You really don't. There are so many people in the community willing to help. Just reach out and ask for help and be clear about what you want help with.
Wow.
It's the job itself is not, you got to do it by yourself. It's designed for you to collaborate. You ask for help. We help each other in the real world. So when you're learning, do the same. There are so many different resources, free communities to join. Do all the free stuff first. And then if after the free stuff, you still feel like you need more, you need that structure, then find something that you can afford and pay for that. I wish I did that at first. I mean, I guess I did, but I think I didn't research enough to find the right free resource for me. So not all resources are built the same. Find the one that works for you. Again, I'll go back to the most important point. Ask for help when you need it. And that could be help with the code you're working on, the project you're working on. That can be help with, maybe some mental or emotional support you need from a family member or friend. But anytime during the journey you feel like things just aren't feeling right, ask for help. That has literally been my saving grace. Just asking for help.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's powerful, man. And that is hard for a lot of people to do. As simple as what you said. So I'm glad you said that, because I know on my side, man, they had someone reached out to me literally like probably 2 days ago, just asking about trying to interview with the company that I'm at. And I'm kind of like, I'm filling her out. I'm kind of checking out her LinkedIn and all. And I'm giving her just tons of information, like tons. And she kept writing me back, nice. But because she was writing me, like, I wanted to help her naturally. But then as I realized how she was, dude, I actually inboxed our recruiter for the company. I was like, hey, I don't know her. I'm not advocating, but check her out. Like, she might have some stuff going, and I don't know what led to her getting an interview, because she was doing her thing, but she got an interview. And
Nice.
and she got an interview with no experience. And this position requires experience. It requires it. And I'm just pointing all of that out to say, like, people are people, and you're pointing out a very powerful thing. Like, you never know what you might run out into if you're just reaching out to strangers and becoming friends.
Yeah, and that's key, right? Don't reach out and be cringy, or it's like, I just need this thing. Like, be respectful. try to get to know the person you're talking to. If that opportunity presents itself, like talk with an intent, almost with an intent to build a relationship with that person, because it's not that you reached out. It's never that you just reached out that people are going to do something for you. It's that you took a moment to have a relationship-like conversation with them that triggered something in you or triggered something in them for them to reach out on your behalf. And that's exactly what happened with you, right? I've had plenty of people reach out to me and ask me about open roles. And again, I don't mind helping people, but I'm more likely to help the person that's really that did what the one that inbox you did, talk to me like I'm a regular person, that I'm not just a step in their process to get a job,
Yeah. No, that's so good, man. And that's what it was. She was human, and she never asked me to reach out to anyone. And to this day, we're recording this video. I never even told her I reached out to the recruiter. I just did it off of good merit because she was normal. It was cool vibes.
Yeah, I've done that too. Now that I think about it. Wow. Yeah, you just never tell there's a cat, and she got the job too. That's interesting. Yeah.
Wow, man. Wow. I really enjoyed this, Malik. And,
likewise.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in. And until next time, we out.
All right, later.